some tools you can use to do that. Gun will be around from 2 till 3, but then we've both got a meeting at 3 o'clock, but then we'll come back at 4 o'clock and we'll see how you're doing with some ideas and some design work. So what I want to do now for the next 40 minutes is show you some tools and techniques for designing glass applications. And hasn't found. Let's see if we can find this. Yes, there we go. Great. So it's called concept design because you haven't learned much about the programming yet. So we're just going to look about high-level concept design, and then I'll show you some tools that you can use to rapidly prototype some ideas. And then today, hopefully, you'll get a chance to start building with those tools. And then tomorrow, start programming some mirror apps or some native apps as well. So first of all, at the HitLab here, we do a lot of teaching around interaction design. Have any of you been exposed to interaction design before? Probably most of you in some way. Well, here's a one-slide refresher for you. So the interaction design is a design process where you can iteratively design technology that helps meet people's needs. So it really has three parts. So the first is trying to discover the needs, the second is designing those needs, and the third is evaluation. And what I'm going to talk about, I mean, we do a whole course on this, but I'm going to talk about just the design part. But hopefully when you start thinking about applications for glass, you'll already have some idea of what people's needs are, or you go and talk to people and find out what their needs are. And then evaluation is a whole different topic as well. So just like what Tom Chi did with, it took him one day to prototype the information floating in front of him space using a wire hanger and a piece of plastic folder holder. We're also going to try and do a rapid prototyping approach. And the idea with that is that you do a very quick design. You try and, most importantly, capture the key interactions. So how do people interact with technology? What's the feedback it gives? And then you focus on the user interface and experience. And in many cases, you can do this without doing any programming. And you can quickly develop something and decide whether it's a good idea or not before you actually start writing lines of code. So I want to give you one example. It's not a glass example, but it's an example that was done as a final year project by a student in Ireland. And it was a mobile application that kind of typifies this. So this was the, oh, David, can you turn the lights down a little bit? Just push the dim switch above you. Dim down, I think it is. Yeah, just, no, a bit up. That's completely off. There's another one that says dim down, I think. You have to push it. Yeah, and just hold it down for a second or two, and it'll start dimming down. Yeah, that's good. That's perfect. That's great, yeah. So this is the Bunratty Folk Park. So this is an area in Ireland where they basically have a lot of old buildings, and it's a historic park. You can go there and you can see how people lived in the 17th and 18th century. And like many museums, they have lots of plaques telling you different information, but people mostly ignored them and walked around the park and tried to understand what was happening. So they have 30 buildings in this area around Bunratty Castle. And so what she decided to do was to build a guide that people could run on their own mobile phones that will tell them more information about their buildings. And in particular, she wanted to use augmented reality. So she wanted to have an augmented reality application that would run on smartphones that would overlay virtual information onto the real object. So you'd stand in front of a building, you'd point your phone at it, and a virtual arrow would appear and saying this is such and such building. And it would also provide some navigational aid. And for younger people, she wanted to have some sort of story or game element. So when you look at the castle, there could be a mini game there. Maybe you have to throw virtual rocks at the castle to rescue the princess or something. So that was her goal, but she wasn't a developer or a programmer, so she was trying to think of how to do this without necessarily having to write any lines of code. So the first thing she did is she ran her prototype using a number of different techniques, and we're going to go through those, and you'll see how they relate to what you could do on glass as well. So first of all, what she did some storyboarding. So here's her storyboard. It talks about this little family coming to the folk park, and they, when they get near the castle, they have their application appears on the castle, and then they can look at the castle with the camera, and this virtual tag appears, and then they select it, and this other marker appears as well. So obviously you can see this is very, very crude, and it's like kind of 5-year-old level drawing, but it's enough that you can understand some of the key components. Like, for example, here, when you have this virtual tag appearing on the castle, you have to then presumably use some sort of tracking technology to know where you're standing, where you're looking, so you can put the tag on the castle. So that was her first prototype sketching. Then the next one is she went to more formal sketches, and she used Photoshop, and so she was able to create the look and feel of a user interface using Photoshop. So this is very cheap, and it's good for idea generation. But with Photoshop, you can't really make it interactive. You can turn on and off different layers, but you can't click on a button and have something pop up, for example. But this was enough that she could go back and start talking to people and getting feedback about whether or not they thought, having tags on buildings would be a good idea. To make it more interactive, she did post-it prototyping. So here's the drawings of the screens again. But then she put post-it notes on the drawings to show what happens when you interacted with them. So, for example, when you select part of the menu, then it becomes highlighted in blue, so you have a blue post-it note. And then you can have this 3D blob here that shows the augmented reality content. So again, no technology at all, but she's able to then have people walk through the interface, and when they push a button, she peels off that one post-it note and puts another post-it note there showing what would happen when that button gets selected. Then she went to PowerPoint, and PowerPoint's really great because, again, it's very easy to use. But with PowerPoint, you can also link different slides together off different buttons. So now she was able to build an interactive interface where you could really click on a button and see transitions happen. So at this point, she was able to take this out to the public and you do user testing and have people doing a talk aloud technique where they talk about what they're trying to do and they got the feedback from the system. And then finally, the final version of the prototype was using Wikitude, which is an augmented reality browser, and this allowed her to upload her own content to their server and then see indeed virtual tags appearing in the real world. Now the interface here is very different from here, so it wasn't, Wikitude has some constraints because you have to work within their interface, so she wasn't able to test all her interface elements, but she was able to test the viewing and augmented reality parts of it and the map parts of it as well. So you can see, with no programming at all, she was able to go through 3 or 4 different fidelities of prototyping tools and to figure out whether or not this approach was actually going to be useful for people. So what do you think some of the benefits of doing this is? Anybody have any ideas? It's quick, yep, definitely quick.
Maybe. If you do know how to program, you can mock up a quick and good.
Yep, could do.
Very quickly.
Yep.
You don't end up rewriting code so much.
It's true, yep.
Change your mind. You might be more committed to doing things the sort of easy way with the coding.
Yeah, it's much easier to add functions onto a program to start from scratch, isn't it? Sometimes if the program's already going in the wrong way, adding more and more functions isn't really going to help it. So that definitely is the case.
It's just something that's changing dynamically, so that things sometimes down in there when they're just resting.
Yeah. Yeah, it's also very cheap as well. I mean, just paper, post-it notes, things like that. So here's some of the benefits. It's fast and inexpensive. It picks up problems. It helps developers think creatively. Sometimes you have to see something or have something tangible in your hand to start thinking about it more. It also is good for teamwork and communication because now you've got something around you. It's not listed here, but sometimes it's important to get stakeholders buy-in. Like if you've got an idea and you want to try and get your manager to give you a $500,000 grant to build it, it's really hard for them to give you money based on just a PowerPoint presentation. But if you actually have something that's prototyped and says, well, look at this, if we had $500,000 we could make this real, then they get the idea. So that's what we're going to talk about today, is some tools you can use to rapidly prototype glass applications before you even write any Android or processing code. And there's a number of different tools that we'll go through. Some of them take a little while to get used to, so I'll show you where they are, show you how to use them, and then during the break or when I'm away from 2 till 4, it'll be good to start getting hands-on with them. They're all very, very easy to use with a very low learning curve, so within half an hour you should be able to be producing stuff. So there's basically kind of 2 classes of tools. The first class is static tools, so just sketching, and I guess that's very easy to do just with pen and paper. You don't need anything for that. Then there's a number of user interface templates that you can get that will produce very nice screenshots, essentially, of what glass applications will look like. And then you can combine those templates into application storyboards, application flows. So these are all non-interactive, but they allow you to see what it looks like on glass. And then there's interactive tools that are like wireframing tools and mobile prototyping tools, and we'll cover both of all. So one of the first tools that's really useful is this tool called GlassSim. And GlassSim is a website that simulates the view through Google Glass. So for example, if you want to build a storyboard, then you could go to this website, you can generate multiple screens, and you can then show what it looks like through Glass. So they have multiple different card templates, and I'll show you that in a minute. And then what you do is you basically put HTML code in the card builder template, and it immediately generates what it looks like on Glass with a kind of Glass view where the Glass UI is on the top right-hand corner, and everything else is down the bottom here. So you have this card builder here, and with the card builder, you can then enter HTML code here. You can upload images, so you can upload your own image. You can also upload different background images. So if you want to, you can take a photograph of the lab here and use it as a background image, or use the live webcam image, in fact. And then once you've put it all together, then you can submit the ideas to the gallery or share it with other people through your social networks and the like. So here, for example, is a couple of examples of screenshots done with GlassSim. So here's somebody who's petting a giraffe, and they're simulating what it would be like to have Google Glass tell you about giraffes while you're petting it. Or here's a operating theatre image. So what would it be like to show the blood pressure and temperature in the operating theatre while you're performing the operation? So let's go to GlassSim, and I'll show you a small demo. And I can find my... Well, I guess I can use this. I had two browsers, so I've got to find the other one. It's hidden somewhere. So let's go here. So here it is. So when you're using GlassSim, helpful if I move it onto the right screen. Then what you do, first of all, you select a template. So imagine we're doing something about a person, or maybe a stock card. So you click on this one here. It shows you now the stocks as they would look like superimposed over the real world. And then I can go down here and I can change the stock. So let's say maybe we're going to talk about Microsoft. So I've got Microsoft here, and maybe they've had a big crash in the market, so now maybe Microsoft stocks are worth $5.12 or something like that. So we've got that there, and you can see it's dynamically changing right away what I've been doing as well. And as I said before, there's no upload image here because stock cards don't have images on them. But I can upload the background image. So if I go here and pick a file, and if I go to my pictures directory, let's see here. And let's see, something looks like a good background scene. Oh, this might be good. So that one. And it's loading it up. So there I am looking at my stock prices in Taranaki with Mount Egmont in the background. So obviously that's super, super easy. But when you'll see that there's many templates you can use. Most of the default templates that Glass provides. And this simulates very exactly what happens when you run a mirror API application. So even before you start writing any application code, you can build a storyboard of what things look like. Okay, so that's one simple tool you can use. Another one is by using Glass user interface templates. So here's a couple of websites here that will allow you to download Photoshop templates. And when you download a template, you can load them to Photoshop, and then you can enter text and images very easily in Photoshop. So, for example, here's some of the types of slides that you can build with the Photoshop template. Sometimes when I'm very lazy, what I'll do is I'll use GlassSim, and then just set the background to black, and then I can do a screen capture and cut the card out, and then I've got my own card already without going into Photoshop. So the same thing. So obviously these are all static. And then the idea is once you've got the static cards made using Photoshop or GlassSim, or you can go into PowerPoint and build your own from PowerPoint, then what you want to do is build a storyboard, just like what the woman did with the Bunratty Park. And so here's a website you can go to where you can get storyboard from. I'll load these slides up in a few minutes onto the shared drive as well, so don't worry too much about well, if you just write down dsky9.com and GlassFac, you can get there. But this is a PDF file that you can print out that allows you to create a storyboard layout like this. So you can say exactly what's going to happen at different parts of interacting with your application. Of course, what you really want to build is the Glass application flow. So, for example, here's an application flow of what it might look like in the cards in the head-mount display. So, in this case, this is a messaging application. So, this woman has received a message. Are you ready for game this Saturday? Hard to read. Then she can tap on the card, and she can either reply, or she can swipe sideways and go to read aloud. Or if she taps on reply, it takes her down to this reply sequence here, where first of all it turns on the microphone, does speech recognition, starts sending the message, sent it, and then she's got the response there as well. So what's different from this, from GlassSim and the storyboard, is this really focuses on all the transitions between the different states. So I'm going to show you now two different tools you can use to build this up, and I'm not super proficient with both of them, but one of them at least I've been able to get transitions working, and I'm sure you guys are a lot smarter than I am, so you can probably handle that much quicker as well. So the first is a wireframe tool called UXPin, and it's a web-based tool that allows you to create your own screen templates, or create your own user interfaces online, and they have their own Glass templates already. So if you use this tool, they already have a bunch of templates for you. So I'll show you in a second, but this is what the user interface looks like. It's basically a set of cards down here. Then you drag and drop the cards into your canvas, and then you can add text and images onto the cards as well. So you can use this to build up that application flow I was telling you about. So let's have a look. In a minute, I'll also have to share with you the username and password. I've created an account on UXPin and this other tool I'm going to show you that's for one username and password, and you guys can all share that, but you can also sign up for yourself if you want to as well. But I'll show you that in a second. So let's go to UXPin, and where is, I think it was here. Huh. I'm a bit confused, I've got two. Huh, I lost it. Okay. Oh, here it is, that's right, I made a mistake, okay. So, it died. Okay, so let's try it logging again. So, here's the website, uxpin.com. And, oh, sorry, yeah, you're right. It's going to be tricky, isn't it? Because I have to look at eyes on the back of my head to be able to see. Okay, yeah, sorry about that. So there's the website, uxpin.com. And so we just go here. Now I need to log in, and if I go back to the other page, which is where oh, okay. It's okay. So it's a Hiddle Glass 0, isn't it? It's Hiddle Glass 0, isn't it? For the okay. Okay. And then it's the password is to write it down. Oh, right. Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. So wait, here we go. Oh, it's already got it there. Okay, that's great. So this is the user interface. If you type in hiddleglass0@gmail.com, you'll be able to get it. And I'll write the password down for you as well. Let's see if I can open up a little document here. So it'll be good for you to write this down. actually all of the glasses have the same password, but they all have different usernames, and the username is dependent on the number which is written on the outside. So this has number 2, so this is hiddleglass2@gmail.com, and so we're going to use hiddleglass 0@gmail.com, and then the password. And actually, if you want to log into Gmail with the username and password, it'll connect to the Gmail account specific to that Google Glass you have as well. The password is this: it's Hiddle GLA $1. So it's Hiddle Glass 1 is the password. So if we copy paste this, and then we're there already. But so if you write that down, when you go to uxpin.com, you can use that username and password, and they'll get you into the same workspace that we're in here. But you can also, if you want to, create your own workspace for your own group, just by creating whatever username and password you want, and sign up for the free service. You get 1 week free, so that's good enough for us. So here's I've created this one project. There's some documentation here for it has tutorials as well. So how to use the system. So if we click on this one here, it takes you back to the project. And now I have to sign in. Okay, that's good. Okay. And HITLGLA $1. Great. Okay, so click on that. It takes me to the project. Then what you'll see is this is the Canvas workspace. Then over the left-hand side here, you have lots of different user interface elements for many different types of devices. So if you want to build iOS or Android devices, Windows Phone devices, you can select. So if you pick iOS, for example, then it'll put all of the iOS icons and best buy, all that kind of stuff here. What we're going to do is use Google Glass. So we pick that one. And then it has all these cards that start appearing. So over here is the canvas. And so you can start placing cards on the canvas. So, for example, if I wanted to use a transit card, I just drag this over here, and it appears. Oh, move it around a little bit. I guess you can't have two people logged in at the same time. Somebody else just logged in. Okay, that's interesting. So if you log out, that'll be really great, and I'll show you. Then you can try logging in. Okay. Okay, so I guess I lied. So maybe you'll have to create your own username and password, but it's completely free, so it doesn't matter. HITL GLA $1. Okay, let's try that again. Okay. Right, so we go down to Google Glass, and now you can drag your cards out here. So the transit card, for example, put it out here, and then I can line it up. Then I can double click, and I can go in to edit the cards here and edit different elements on the cards as well. So that is a really fast way to arrange different cards. There's also a way, although I haven't been able to get this working, but I'm sure you guys are much smarter than I am. There's a way that you can add interactions. So, for example, if you wanted to add a way to link. So if you click on this card, then you could show or hide different elements of the cards, or you can also show or hide other different cards as well. So this turns into an interactive design tool. And then when the cards are done, then you can also go back to preview mode. So if I go back to the home page here, it's slow working through. Let's undo. Sorry. Yeah, if I go back to the dashboard here, then you can preview through. Where is it? Here. You can share a preview, and if you do that, that generates a web page URL, and it sends it to somebody else, and they can look at your work and comment on the work as well. So this is a way to quickly create designs that you can share. You can also add comments, so you can click on this, and I can say, this design is rubbish, and you can save that there. So add your comment, so you can share with a whole group of people as well. So that was the UX pin. The design tool I had more success with was another one. A UX pin is great because it has the tools for doing the it has all the template tools for the glass cards, so it makes it very, very easy for you to create the templates. So you just drag the canvas out here, and then you can drag different elements into them. Let's see if I can show you that again with, oops, not that one, but well, let's just delete it. And so you can, for example, put images and things like that in as well. So it's very easy to use from that perspective. So I had a hard time getting interactions working. So what I'm going to show you is now another tool that I found easier for the interactions. But whichever one works the best for you, you can use. If I go back to the presentation, the tool I found was a bit easier. Was this tool called Protoyo, and this is a web-based mobile prototyping tool. It has some of the same features as UXPin in that you can prototype for multiple devices. You can also share links with collaborators as well. But it had better support for events like gesture input and touch events, things like that. You can also test on the device, although that doesn't work with glass. But if you've got an Android phone, this will generate an app. It has its own Android app that you can use to upload the UI onto your own device and test it on the device. So if you want to use this again for doing phone or tablet programming, you could use that for testing. So in this case, the interface is a little bit similar to UXPin. You have a canvas here, but here they have this notion of working with different screens, and you can then add different events and things to the screens. There isn't any glass template, but you kind of build one by hand. So in this case, I specified that I want the screen size to be 640 by 360, the dimensions, so it matched the glass dimensions. And then I started adding elements in. So I'll show you that working as well. As I said, I had much more success with this than with the other one. So if I go back here, and I think we're probably still logged in. Okay, so here's, before I show you that, I want to show you how to put together a little flow. So going back to the this demo or this interaction flow I showed you before. So you've got the messaging application where you want to get a message from somebody, then you want to reply, and you either want to swipe sideways so you can have other options around the message, or you want to tap into the message and actually do the reply. So when you're designing an application like this, one of the most important things is to think about the gesture flow. So here you've got a tap, and the tap will take you to, basically it goes down in the menu hierarchy, and then you've got a swipe, and the swipe goes across in the menu hierarchy to the next card, or you can tap from that card and go down and swipe here as well. And you might be able to want to swipe both directions, swipe left or right to go back and forward. So when originally you'll sketch out your UI elements, and then you'll arrange them in some sort of flow diagram like this to see what's going to happen. So to give you an example, I'll show you a little bit how you can do a start transition here using Protoyo. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a card, we're going to add an interaction to it so that we can tap on the card, it'll load up another card, then we'll swipe horizontally and it'll load up another card as well. So let's go back to the Protoyo. And I've got a project already loaded, but let me go home so you can see the projects. So I click here, there's this one project called Glassflow, and again, don't do it now, but in a minute when I'm done with this, you can log into Hiddle1 and use the password I showed you, and you'll see this project as well. And then there's two modes, there's editor mode and a preview mode. So in the preview mode, when you click on this, what it does is it loads up a new page, and no, it's still loading maybe. Oh, there we go. So it loads up the page. Now, it doesn't have a glass template, so I said I want to build an Android app that's in horizontal or landscape orientation, so this is it here. And so here's the card, but it still supports the interactions. So if I click on this, for example, it's going to take me down to the next card, simulating a tap event, and I can swipe. So I think I swipe this way and it goes back to video call, and I can swipe back the other way, it goes back the other way as well. So it's doing left to right swipes. And so if I go back to the editor, I'll show you how you can build this. And again, this is a really great communication tool because you throw this together and then you send the URL to your manager or a collaborator or whatever and say, what do you think about this? And they'll give you feedback based on the visual design and also the interaction. Come on. Okay. Okay, so here's, well, actually, let me show you starting from scratch because it won't take very long. That same thing. So let's go to the projects and we'll create a new project. And we'll call it flow test. Now, with this one here, you can add your own custom devices. So they have a bunch of devices already. I already added a device called Google Glass, but let's imagine I didn't. So let's say, because if you're going to use this for the first time on a new account, you won't have that there. So let's add a custom device. And so I'll call this glass, and then I will say, well, it's going to be a landscape orientation, and we want 640 by 360 pixels, and then you have to pick one of these devices here to represent it. So in this case, I showed it as a tablet. There wasn't anything really perfect, but and there's no skin, but I could add that there. I don't want any action about bars. You can load different libraries and things like that, but anyway, we don't want that. So you hit save, and now it's going to build for me a template based on that. And, oh, sorry, default component library. It's Android library, sorry, because we're using Android. So we save that. So now I've got that. Now if I go back to the devices, we can now go back to the project, sorry. Now we can add our new project. So we add a new project here. And again, I'll call it glass flow test, maybe. And now we've got two devices, Glass and Google Glass. So let's pick the Glass one. And we create the project. And now, if we want to, we can add an icon there. Now we go to the editor. Oh, it looks like... Okay, so you see that it's 640 by 360 on the screen. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start making a mock-up app for some screens, but I'm going to cheat by going and grabbing some glass screen images that have already been created. So what you would do is you would go into Photoshop or maybe the glass sim I showed you before, build some mock-up screens, and then screen capture them in 640 by 40 resolution, and then open this app and load the screens into there, just like I'm going to do. So if I click on, if I go over here, no, oh, okay, go over this way. Oh, actually, well, I can't quite see what I can reach. You can just pull over here. This is an image icon. So there's the image. And then we get to properties, and I'm going to add an image from an asset manager. And previously, you'll see that here's a whole bunch of default images you've got. We've got, I've got some images on my, in fact, I can add it into the account, actually. So I've got some images on my PC that are fake glass images, so here's some here. I'm going to upload some more assets from my PC. If I go now to the directory, and what I'll do is I'll upload these same assets into the Google Drive account that you've got as well. So if I push this over here, you can see in this asset directory, it's a bunch of images. So I can select all these images here. I can drag them over to there and upload them. So if you're doing this yourself, then you would have created these images in Photoshop or something and upload them, or gone on the web and found some nice Google Glass images or whatever else, as long as they're 640 by 480. So now we've got a whole bunch of images. And I said I'm going to put these in the asset store, so you've got an OK Glass image, a call image, and whatever else. So that's great. So now I want to pick this one here, which is the woman doing the call. So I select that image there. I select that, and now it's going to upload that image to here, and it's because it's 640 by 480, it resizes it, so now we've got the image there. So we've got one card done. I'm just going to show you part of the flow so you get the feel for it. So we now have to build 2 more cards, and we'll do the same flow that I showed you in this thing here. We've got one card, we'll add 2 more cards there, and you'll see the interaction before them. But then when you do it yourself, you can add a lot more complexity if you want to. So we've got one card. So now we go to, my mouse, we go to the screens, and we want to add a new screen now. So let's add a new screen, and we can call it a name. So we call it like call, maybe. The orientation is the same. This time I'll make the screen background black. We'll save that. Go OK. So now it's made a black screen. It's called the call screen. And we do exactly the same thing. We take this, we drag it across here, and now we've got to get a new image. So now we go to our asset store, the account assets we've got here. And one of those, if you've got really good eyes, there's this one here, is call. So we can select that, and it'll load it up, and we can drag it there. Okay, there's the call one. And now we want to do a thing one more time. So we want to add a new screen, and this is, I guess we'll call this one video call. So maybe when you're using this glass set, maybe you've got the option to either place an audio call back to the person or do a video call back to them. And same deal. So do that there, save that, go OK. And now we need to add the same picture asset, so we can add more here. And we can add the picture again. And go back to the asset store. And let's see, this has got video call on it here, so I'll pick that one. Okay, so now we've got the 3 cards. Now what we need to do is we need to link them together. And this just takes another short bit of time. So we go now to the this one here. And we can do it in 2 ways, but if I click on here, then you see it's got interactions. So I click on that and I say I want to add interaction, and we'll call this interaction tap, maybe. And I'm going to use the click event. You can use mouse events to simulate different behaviors with the device, but I only want to make it so when I click, and when I click, I want it to load up the new screen, which is the call screen, and I want to load it right away. So do that, and that's it. So you can see the interaction now appears below here. So that's that one done. So now we go to the call screen. The call screen is a little bit different because I want to be able to swipe and then have the video call appear. So this is the horizontal transition. So it's a swipe left. I'm going to click on here and swipe left. So again, I double click on this, add an interaction, and we're going to call this one swipe left. And I go pick swipe left from here. And now what I want to do is I want to load up the other screen. This is the video call screen. But this time, sometimes you'll notice when you're using Google that when you tap, sometimes the cards are replaced immediately. When you swipe, sometimes they slide sideways. So this time, instead of having the card replaced immediately, we want to have a transition so it looks like it's been slid across. Some of the events will also slide from the top as well, so you can duplicate this. So now we're going to go to transition, and we're going to slide the card in. We could also add a delay if we wanted to as well, but we won't do it in this case. So we save that. And so that's great. Now we want to go to the last screen, which is the video call screen. When this one appears, you want to be able to swipe to the right to swipe back to the call screen. So now we just add a swipe right application. We hit swipe right, and again we go now back to the. Now this time we're going back to the call application, and we have a slide transition there as well. So just to remind you, what we've done is we have built this. So when you tap on her face, it'll go down to the call. When you slide, it'll go down to this one. When you slide the other way, it goes back to this one. Is that pretty clear? Great. So now we'll run it and we'll see if we've got it right or not. Obviously, this is a very simple example, but what you'll be able to do is you can build very complicated transitions, and you can also have active elements on the screens themselves. So if you decide you want to click on you're going to build a simple game, and if you click on a thing in the game, then something else happens, and you can show that as well. Okay, so let's try and see what happens. So now we're in the here again. Now in this case, it's hard to see. If I drag this over, the preview button right there. I'll just save the project to make sure it's not. Okay, now I hit the preview button. It opens up a new window, and it also creates this QR code. If you had the Protoyo app on your mobile device, on your Android or iPhone, you could scan the QR code and it will load up the elements on your phone, and you could test them on the phone itself. Unfortunately, this doesn't work with glass, but it's still. So this one here, so now if I tap on her, it goes to call. I swipe, and I swipe back, and it goes, it's doing this. Should be swiping the wrong way. Oh well, I should have picked the other transition, I guess. So this is a really good tool you can use to quickly prototype transitions between cards that would be on glass. Let me just go back. There's one other tool I want to show you, but I'll just have time to kind of show you an outline, and then you'll be able to learn a bit more about yourself. So this is the demo. Then there's some limitations though. So first of all, with this, you can't deploy this onto glass, so you can't see what it looks like when you're viewing it. You don't have access to sensor data. So with glass, obviously, you've got a camera, orientation sensor, other sensors. There's also no multimedia feedback, and the transitions are very simple. So the last prototyping tool I want to show you is a tool called App Inventor. App Inventor was originally developed at Google as a way to rapidly prototype for Android devices, and then Google decided they didn't want to support it anymore, and they gave it away to MIT and open sourced it. So this is basically a visual programming tool for Android apps, and it has access to Android sensors, and it can also provide multimedia feedback. It has a drag and drop web-based interface, which has two elements. One element is a designer view, which basically is like PowerPoint. You can just lay out graphic designs. The second element is a blocks view that lets you add program logic or control. So let me show you the website for starters. So if you go to kill some of these. Okay, so here's got too many Protoyos open right now. So appinventor.mit.edu is the website. And if you go here, again, you can create a free account, and then there's a lot of tutorials here for how to use it. One of the great things about this, though, is that it generates the APK file that you need to run on Android, and it also pushes to whatever Android devices are connected onto your machine. So you can use it in two modes. You can either run it as an emulator, where it will create a virtual window that looks like a phone and show content on the window, or if you've got an Android phone connected to your machine, it'll create the output and push it onto your phone and run it right away. So in the case of Glass, if you have your Google Glass device plugged in, it'll recognize that and it'll push onto Glass and show you the content on Glass itself. So I'll show you that in a bit more detail. So let me get out of this. This is the as I said before, there's two interfaces. This is the designer interface. So when you click on these little elements here, they give you a whole bunch of different designer elements. Now, unfortunately, this is not designed for Glass. So the size of the screen here is not the same size as the Glass screen, and I haven't figured out yet how to change the size. I think I read in some of the help documentation that's saying that they've just got some fixed size right now. So you kind of have to fake it by just putting content there, but knowing it'll look a little bit different because it's going to be stretched. So you can add other interface elements here. Then you can change the layout of elements. You can add media elements as well. So this is all the user interface designer. And the second screen is the block screen. And the block screen is where you add the logic. So for example, well, I guess the best way to show you is to build something really simple. So if I go to Start New Project, and I'll call this my camera. So I'm going to build this project here, and I'm going to go back to the design screen for starters. So I don't want this one, so I go over here, and I say I want this to go to landscape orientation, so it's kind of like Glass-like. I also want to make the background color black. So there we go. Now what I'm going to do is build a very simple app that when you push a button, the camera takes a picture on Glass. So in this case, I take the button user interface element and push it over here, and then I can add some text to it. So I can go down here, say take a picture. Oops, that's not right. That's better. Take a picture. And there you go. It doesn't look very much like Glass, so maybe I should make the text color be white, maybe, and it might be a bit more Glass-like. Okay, anyway, so that's the button. And you can change the size, and there's a few other things you can modify with the button as well. I think, yeah, it's fine. So now what I want to do is I want to take a picture. So I go down here, and in the media section, there's a camera widget. I drag the camera widget and put it across here. Now the camera widget's not going to. This part here is your visual interface. The camera widget's not going to appear there because it's it represents the logic to take the picture. So they put it down here in this non-visible section, and now you can see I've got two components now. I've got a button and I've got a camera. That's pretty straightforward. Now we go to the blocks, and here's my button and camera. If I click on the button, then you see magically all these things appear. If any of you have used Scratch interface before, which is a programming language for children, this is how they use it here. So then you basically just take one of these and drag it out to your canvas. So I'm going to do this one. And this makes it super easy for programming because you can't make a mistake. Because what happens is this is like a jigsaw puzzle piece. And now you can only fit certain other pieces into here. So now we've got so it says when button 1 click. So now I want to do this. And so I clicked on the camera. With the camera, you've only got 3 options of components. You've got either some option here when the camera's taking a picture, you do something with the picture, or you've got the option to take a picture, or you've got this thing here. So in this case, I said call camera take picture, and then this fits right in there. So it couldn't be much more easy, right? So that's the logic that goes behind the interface. There's the interface again. Now comes the moment of truth. I'll try it out and see what happens. Now I need to pick up my device here and plug it in. And now, Gunn will talk about this a bit more in detail, but some of you who have used Android before will know about the ADB controller. That's a piece of software that allows you to push software onto your Android device. So what I'm doing now, this is my Xterm window or my terminal window on my Mac. I'm just checking now that my device is actually connected. So I click on here and go up and push this button here, and it sees now it's found the device and it gives you the serial code of the device. So that's good. So my device is connected. So now, I need to also run the Android screen here, so you can see what I'm seeing. So 156. So now I go here, and I can pull down here, and then because my device is connected by USB, then it's going to do a USB connection, and it's going to take this, compile it into an Android application, and push the application onto my Google Glass and run the application. There's also a way you can set up with Wi-Fi as well, but so if you have a Wi-Fi connection between your device and your computer, or on the same Wi-Fi network, you can do it all over Wi-Fi. So hopefully this is going to work. Now it's connecting, and if I go back to, so it's starting now. I go back here, you can see this is what I'm seeing right now in my Google Glass. It's just starting to run, starting to get up. And now it's running, and there's a button there. So now I can touch this, and oops, I made a mistake. Let's run it again. Reset the connection. When Glass goes to sleep, it sometimes turns off the app, so you can't view it. So you've got to make sure your Google Glass stays alive. So let me do that. One way to do that, just so you can see, is it's also lost the connection. So I need to go and sometimes unplugging and replugging the serial port. And okay, so now this is what I'm seeing. Now I want to make sure the Glass screen stays on while it's going through its boot up setup stage. So what I can do is I can tap on this settings location, and I can go to the Bluetooth here, and it will now keep this active while it's looking for other Bluetooth devices. So it's kind of a little trick. Do that. So now go here, and I can do this again, and it's now going to connect. And you'll see now it's got that again. Now, if I swipe my finger along the point that highlights the button, if I tap the button, you'll see then it's taking a picture, and there's the picture that it took. So it did exactly what it was supposed to. You know, when you tap the button, it takes a picture there, and you can tap it again, it takes a picture. So it's obviously a very simple example. There's some other examples as well. Let me load up another one for you. So I got my projects here. There's a list of projects. One of them is called Glass Orientation. And what this one does is it has on the screen, I've made three labels here, label 1, 2, 3, labeled roll, pitch, and yaw. And then I've also added from the sensor here, I've added an orientation sensor. So this is the compass that's in the Glass device. And then the logic that we have here is the blocks here. It's a little more complicated, not too much. You just take this orientation sensor and you can drag it out here. It's giving me an error because I've got two of them now. And then what I can do is I can say, now I can take this label here and I can set the label text. So I can push this into here, and I can go get azimuth, drag this out and put it to here. So now we've got three jigsaw puzzles put together. So what happens here is that whenever I change my head orientation, it's going to get the orientation of the compass, the azimuth orientation, and it's going to write it, set the text of the label to that orientation. So that's a very easy way to show on the screen the orientation of the compass. Of course, you can do more complicated things. Oh, this is a trash can, you put it in the trash can, it goes away. So you can do more complicated things. So as you turn your head around, you can change the color of the screen or have a ball that's bouncing or whatever else as well. So let's see that working. So if I go back here, I think this is disconnected again, so I need to disconnect that and reconnect this and run ADB again. and it's going to restart the daemon, so 201 right now. So now, if I go here and go USB connect, it's going to connect via the thing, and you'll see when it's connected, it's going to not show that one, hopefully. Oh, not quite sure why that happened. Let's see if I can do it again. Oh, I had to hit the reset connection, I think. And then try it again. Okay. When it doesn't see the device, you have to restart the. It's a bit of a process. You have to unplug Google Glass. You have to restart the. Now it's seeing it again. Now it's connected. And okay, now it's showing over here on the blocks. It's just starting up, and you'll see there's the roll picture in your. As I move my head around, it's updating the position. It's very slow because of the connection through the emulator, but you see that it's working anyway. So that's about all I want to show you now. That was a bunch of stuff very quickly. So what I'll do is I'm going to upload the PowerPoint slides that I showed you to the shared drive. So I went through that. I went through the orientation demo. Here's some websites, and then now's the time for you to start thinking about your own applications. So, has anybody formed any groups? Did you find any friends? That was your task over lunchtime, right? Well, I've got a suggestion, is that maybe you and the other Korean guys, Dr. Youngson, and you guys can work together. And maybe you three can work together. Maybe Neville can work with Tracy. Is that okay? Or okay? So that's 3 groups right now, but actually we've got 4 devices, haven't we? So we could maybe have the HitLab guys with one. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot you. That's embarrassing. Yeah, so maybe the 2 of you could work together. You guys work together, and then you could work with Tracy. Is that okay? Great. So and you guys can work together as well, and then the HitLab people, they can use the devices some of the time. Sorry, David, but you're here all the time, so you can use it whenever you want. What I want you to do is to break up into your peers. We've got places you can work. We could have 2 groups working in here. Also, right where we're gunners right now, that whole carousel of desks is empty. So there's 3 desks right there. So you could, 2 pairs could sit by 1 desk. And then what I'd like you to do is to discuss about the type of application you might want to build. I bought you each a stack of cards. So for the prototyping, one of the easy steps you can do is just use 1 card for 1 screen on glass and just lay it out on the table saying we're going to build, I don't know, a restaurant app. So we'll have the first card will be the start screen for our app. We'll click on that. It'll go to a menu of some other apps, and here's the menu cards and so forth. And then when you think you've decided what app you want to build, then you can use the glass sim to try and make a higher fidelity version, or the UX pin or the Protoyo to actually build the screens that start working. And if you're very ambitious, you can start looking at App Inventor as well. So I'm going to pass these out. So you're working with Simon back there. Daniel and Mark, I guess you guys are together. You'll make sure you'll need to have a glass display as well, and you also need to have a USB stick as well. So I'll give you these, and Gunn at the back there has your glass display, and Neville, you can take this with